music on then.
Yeah. Captain Crunch got first place finally.
Yep. Oh, hold on. This is where I can do.
Calderon is here as well. Wise Choice Money. Mitch is here as well too.
What's up, guys? No, Mitch is really psyched about everything.
Absolutely.
What's up, Captain? Jorge, Wise Choice Money. What's up, Neil? Thank you, Mitch. Thank you. What's up, Custom Games Modes? Mitch, I was actually having a lot of fun playing around with this stuff before we went live just now. Gunther?
I think we'll give it about a minute here and then we'll jump right into it. What do you think, Oliver?
Sounds good to me. Sounds good. What's up, Chappie? Yeah, Mitch has been doing a great job posting stuff on this.
All right, let's get into it, Oliver.
All righty. Hello, everybody. Welcome to our monthly AMA, where we go over whatever's new, whatever's happening with RayFi and all that jazz.
Yeah.
So,
well,
how are you doing, Moongod?
It's been a while. Feels like it's been even longer than a month, but just we've been busy. It's been a very busy month. The market has been very up and down. And it's probably going to continue to be volatile over the next few months here. That's kind of what we're predicting.
I would say so. It's kind of an uncertain time right now.
Yep. The good news for us is that we have a lot of things that are already kind of in place that put us in a relatively good position. So it's not a bad spot for us to really kind of be in here. But yeah, there's still a lot kind of happening and going on in terms of some market changes that we've kind of prepared for and some of the things that we've kind of set up to make some of the processes a little bit easier for us. But I guess we'll just kind of jump into it really quick. As you guys are well aware, we did not get back up to the $3,000 range. So we did not have any returns on the bot side of farming. On the Ray Fund side of things, we did have our LP farming go through. It was roughly a little bit more than about $28. It was close to about $29 for the week, and that's just mainly because of the the difference in funds that we have available. So it just it was not a huge week, not a lot of up and down volatility. It just was kind of very, very flat, even though we had a relatively large dip at one point in time, which we were able to take kind of advantage of and go from there. But this is part of the reason why we're kind of rebalancing a little bit more. And, we're in the process of moving some more funds into some LP farming. So we have, even higher returns as kind of these, weeks and months go through. So I'm sure everyone's aware. We did do roughly $1,126. We rounded it in returns from the initial kind of like period that we were expecting to start farming again. were removed from where we removed the funds for the LP. We continued farming there, and the point that we're at kind of right now with the first payout. So it's very much so a situation where we just kind of aggregated that all into one and paid it out to everybody. I know there were some people that were curious whether or not we were just going to, just do the LP farm payouts for the month of August. But we wanted to give you guys a little bit extra for being so patient, and just kind of, those other ones would have been paid out as well. Um, if the token was out and everything was prepped and ready with a DApp and everything like that. So we just wanted to make sure that you guys didn't feel like you'd missed anything there. We said we were going to start with 20,000. That's what we did. And so, everything that we made above that, as part of our system protocol was, set up as part of the payout, the reinvest to the treasury and, the team, as we've, kind of had broken down before. So with that being said, we did do a $450 payout. So that was broken up into a couple of different ways. I believe, if memory serves, about $49 went to the 4 token side of things. The rest went to, various different vaults and, RayFi reinvestment. So the auto reinvest did do a buyback, I believe, of roughly about $162. And that's kind of what we talked about within the system, is that, the team doesn't want to necessarily have to do buybacks. We'd much rather, reinvest things into, these additional farming strategies. And then those can be used as, buybacks for, any of the holders that are staked in the auto reinvest vault. And again, the benefit with that is you're getting that 4% buy fee is basically stricken for anyone that's in the auto reinvest vault. That's kind of our idea behind it, is we want people to get, incentivized to be into that vault. So
Very cool. Very cool. What wasn't like 90% just not staked?
No. So between so the total payout was $450. About $49 worth, like I said, was staked in the 4 token vault. And then $160 was staked in the RayFi auto reinvest.
Okay. Cool.
Sorry, not 100. About $160 was staked in the RayFi auto reinvest. Then we also had a couple other people that were staked in Bitcoin, Ethereum, and Wrapped BNB. So yeah, all in all, that's kind of the way it panned out there. We're planning on going back through and just kind of doing a breakdown and review of that to kind of give people some stats. That's pretty much why we don't have the numbers out today, is we thought it'd be interesting to have those numbers. And we thought it would be something that would be interesting and cool to review. And then me and Callie got a little bit distracted with some of the other things that we were ending up doing today. One of the things that we built into our process as well too was anything that's considered on-chain data. We're working on a process for that updating, like a projected returns for the month. So we have a process where it will basically every single week it'll snapshot and update, say like our LP fees, our farming fees, and stuff like that we've earned. So that way you guys can kind of see that as each week goes on, and that'll be available on the website as well too.
Wow.
So we had some fun stuff we were working on today, and it just kind of one thing led into the next, into the next, into the next. So I apologize. The number's not coming out today. That's on me. But yeah, we'll get those out for the month. But
sounds good.
Yeah. So
what was I was gonna ask you if do you think everybody understands how to stake? Like, were there like a large amount of people that just didn't stake in anything?
Yeah. So I've still got to finish pulling the numbers and everything. And again, that was part of all of the month end numbers that we were going to do, just as like a whole breakdown.
Okay.
But yeah, about halfway through the month of August, only about 34% of people were actually staked. which is fine.
Okay.
I mean,
Yeah.
and that includes not just like the RayFi Auto Reinvest Vault, but that's just all of the RayFi vaults as a whole on OPBNB, meaning RayFi, Bitcoin, Ethereum, Wrapped BNB, and then about 12% was staked in the 4 token vault. So we had, I think it was like 22 or 21% was in those various other vaults, and then about 12% was in the 4 token vault. And that was kind of the breakdown as of mid-August, but that may have changed as more people have kind of staked and unstaked, things like that. But yeah, it's very likely that there were quite a few people that just didn't want to stake, didn't want to do that, and that's totally fine.
So if you don't stake, you just get the USDT.
Correct. Yeah. And I think that's where some of the confusion may have been, is that some people are expecting both USDT and whatever they were staked in as well. And that's a little bit of a misconception, because the way that the system works is if your payout was $5 or $10 or whatever it is, basically your payout is associated to the total amount of tokens that you hold. So let's say you have 100,000 tokens and your payout was $10, right? That 100,000 is effectively equivalent to the $10 in, for lack of better terms, a percentage ratio. So if you were to stake 50% of your tokens in the Bitcoin vault and then leave 50% unstaked, you would get $2 or $5 in Bitcoin and $5 in USDT. Some people were a little bit confused like that, it seemed. And they were thinking, oh, well, I should have gotten $10 in Bitcoin and $10 in USDT. And that's not the case. So just wanted to reiterate that really quick. Your payout amount is, a percentage total equivalent to your percentage total of tokens. So wherever you stake your tokens, that is the equivalent amount that you're going to receive percentage to percentage. So, I guess that's the best way that I can explain that. So if you have 50% staked somewhere, 50% unstaked, it balances itself out, and the payout basically will do the math for it and buy the tokens and then airdrop those tokens just right into your wallet. So you don't have to worry about, do I have to go anywhere and claim? Do I have to do this? Do I have to do that? Do I have to grab them off the blockchain? What do I need to do? They're just airdropped into your wallet. So we had a couple of people that were a little bit curious where their tokens were, because they hadn't added the proper contract addresses associated to those wallets as well, or associated to those tokens as well. So it was a situation where somebody got some Bitcoin, but they were like, oh, well, I've got the Bitcoin address in here, and it turns out they had the Bitcoin address for BSC, not for OPBNB. So there are 2 different ones. You have to just make sure that you're grabbing the correct contract address for that. But yeah, that's pretty much it. We didn't have any issues with the actual payout process itself. We did have some issues with the payout on the 4 token side that we've got to work through. And that was something that we were slightly afraid of. The automated process did not work due to the transfer tax. So, yeah.
Yes.
Kind of broke some stuff. Our entire automated airdropping process that would have cost us almost nothing to do for you guys broke. So we had to manually airdrop each of those out to everyone. Fortunately, it was only 12 holders that were staked in there. So it wasn't too bad. But
and so there was the 4% transfer tax on that.
Yeah, that kind of threw us for a loop there. It basically, the contract didn't want to do it because of the transfer tax, so it kept rejecting it. So we just had to manually do it. But yeah, we'll work to see what we can do to kind of resolve that and go forward. But it was something where we already pushed it back one day, and then we were basically 6 hours into fixing it, and we just said, you know what, forget it. We'll just manually pay for it all ourselves and airdrop it one at a time. So yeah.
Yeah.
Live and learn. It is what it
Yeah,
is. But
absolutely. Absolutely.
yeah, that
It's still
was
very early. So
yeah.
you guys are getting a lot done, and it'll
Yep.
just keep getting better. So
Yeah, I mean, and that's one of the things is that we kind of figured we're going to have a couple of speed bumps here or there,
sure.
and we're well aware that that's going to kind of happen every once in a while, and we're just going to do what we always do, which is work through them and make the adjustments the way that we need to. In that sense, it was a situation where we just ended up. Um, we basically thought we had everything set up and good to go, and we were going to do the snapshot. Um, on the first at the end of the night, um, and we decided to kind of hold off on that because it was extremely late for Callie and had been staring at a screen for about 8 hours already after his actual job. And so we just basically were like, no, we're gonna wait for the next day, and then come to find out we had about 6 more hours of trying to figure out the 4 token situation. So that was
Oh, geez.
glad we decided to just wait an extra day there. So
Yeah.
yep.
Well, I'm sorry. I didn't realize it would be that much of a
No, it
struggle
just broke
for
our
you guys.
airdropper is all that it did. Not a
Yeah.
big deal. Just
All right.
just a pain in the backside.
Yeah. Yeah.
um,
Uh, so and you guys reinvested $450.
correct. 450. We haven't put it into anything yet. Me and Callie are looking at a couple of different options.
Yeah.
But yeah, that is most likely going to go to LP farming because we do want to increase the amount that's in there. And the reason for that is we're not expecting um, September to be really very friendly to any of the markets across the board. It's pretty notorious for being an unfriendly month for crypto. It's also very notorious for being an unfriendly month for a lot of other, you know, um, like major businesses and companies as well too. So the stock market, as most probably saw today, was absolutely blood red, and that's
Oh,
just kind of like par for the course as we go into like September. So,
yeah.
yep.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. We had someone in our Discord showing us that there's a lot of layoffs going on right now, and
yep. Because we're getting ready to finish up Q3 and move into Q4. So this is kind of the quarter of bad things, is what I like to call it. So
it's a very
yeah, it's not
technical
great.
term.
What?
It's a very technical term.
Yeah, the quarter of bad things.
Yeah.
I mean, basically, it's where a lot of the layoffs usually end up kind of like finishing up for the end of the year, and then they'll hire like temp stuff for the rest of the year. I mean, that's kind of the way it works. Basically, the big kickback that we'll start to see is as we move into like October, November, is we'll kind of start to see things move in a positive direction, more likely than anything else, and that's usually because people have saved up throughout the year as we move kind of more into the holiday season. So
I
that's kind
gotcha.
of what the expectation is. But
I
yeah,
gotcha.
I think we're probably going to see that. Um, one of the questions that was asked is, this was asked just in a DM, was basically, what are we doing about the bot farming side of things, and what's the process between months where it's very low or no return, both on the RayFund side as well as the NFT side. So to just go over that really quickly, on the RayFund side, this is part of why we're already looking to diversify out, do more LP farming, find some other strategies and things like that we like, and just kind of expand into those. Um, just really kind of um, do what we can to pick up a little bit here and there. We've already done some dollar cost average on a few things. We're looking to kind of expand into a few other options regarding some staking, some liquid staking that seem to be doing pretty well,
Yeah.
and just kind of making a few adjustments within there. Nothing too crazy over the top. Just as like a heads up as to some of the numbers associated to this. We did roughly, 1 second here, I'm trying to pull it up. Sorry, I had a lot of stuff down. So the amount that we did in terms of LP farming over the month of August, which had some ups and downs, was a little bit over 3%, which is pretty solid. it was just a situation where we had a couple of things kind of move out, and just with Callie being gone, we had a couple of adjustments that we weren't able to make in the ways that we wanted to. So it's a little bit lower than we kind of expected, but it is what it is. But 3%
Right.
is not bad in terms of just the LP farming returns. From there, we also did about 0.4% on the lending side of things, which is pretty solid as well too, considering the fact that that is meant to be relatively low yield. Just in general, but it's supposed to be kind of like our safest route, our safest avenue. And that's pretty much kind of where we're at there, is that we've decided to kind of just slowly start to move things into more active farming strategies where we don't have to wait for like certain levels, so that way we can continue to do payouts every single month without having to kind of wait for stuff. As for the NFT side of things, to kind of review the more bot focused side, we are reviewing what's kind of available here, but the gist of it is this. um, Effectively, our bot has two strategies that it kind of like can work through. The first strategy is one that deals with a bit more volatility, but it's also much higher risk, and it handles the volatility in that dollar cost average fashion. The other one is meant to be more used within the range. As of right now, we're in the one that was trading within a very specific given range. And that was, again, to protect us in case something crazy happened. Now, even with all of that being said, when it does get back up into the $3,000 to $4,000 range, we're looking at roughly about a little bit over a 10% return there. And so it would be a situation where there are going to be some months where it's going to be a little bit slower. But this was the safer of the two routes, as the other one potentially could have led to a situation similar to the end of last year, where we had to do some hedging. And we felt this was a safer course of action with the volatility we may have faced. With things potentially going up or down.
Right.
The current strategy, I guess is the best way to call this, that we're in, is more for if the bot is going up and to the right. Whereas the other strategy is more for up and down in a given area, and remain in that area and stop trading there. Now, we're still very bullish regarding ETH, Bitcoin, crypto in general, and all of that across the board. Obviously, we've had some pullbacks and things like that, which, again, this strategy that we're in is heavily protected against that, versus the other one wanting to be much more aggressive. So the long
Right.
and short of it is there's two sides. This side is more of a consistent up and to the right. We'll generate returns on that, versus the other one being strictly more large up and down swings, where it comes back to price. And I guess that's the best way to think about it, is the other process that we were in before handles, a 5% drop, a 10% drop. That's great. Cool. Dollar cost average all the way down. And then it reverses and comes all the way back up. Versus this one, which is more, it trades within the range. When it moves outside of the range, it uses funds that are left to protect it on the
Right.
the downside if things go negative, but it continues to buy and sell as it goes up and to the right. So this is a situation where, as the market moves positively, we're still able to make gains and returns, versus the other one, the other side of it, which is where it's protected if it goes negative, versus the other strategy, which is the volatility strategy, which it does not like if things go up and to the right, and never comes back down. That can
Right.
absolutely be a situation where, like, if we're caught in a short, the price is just going up, we have to then hedge and then flip it the same way that we did um, at the end of last year into the beginning of this year. And that's
Yeah.
just
But
not
that's,
what we wanted to deal
yeah.
with.
Yeah. That was that like a big headache for you guys? Like it required a lot of manual trading from you guys,
Uh,
or?
it required a lot of very minute manual adjustments to the way that the bot was opening certain positions. But it was more of a case of we had to set things up in case something went wrong. And that's not a position we liked to be in. It was not fun for us. There were a
Sure.
lot of very sleepless nights, is what I'll say, even
I got
outside of
you.
like the coding that we were doing.
Yeah.
And we didn't like being in that position.
Of
It was
course.
a lot of unnecessary stress, is what I'm going to say.
Gotcha.
Because this new bot and the way that it works is much more protective. And right now, basically, it's just kind of sitting there, and it's like, oh, everything's fine. We're good to go.
Will
So
there ever be a time when it starts using leverage again?
yeah, as we're not having to worry about as much of the cataclysmic like up and to the right, we can absolutely like turn up the leverage a little bit. You know, the big thing for us is that we're not wanting to use more leverage than what we can protect on the downside.
Right.
And currently, right now, the 2400 range is actually a pretty solid support, which is really, really good. So we're seeing a lot of accumulation in this phase here, and then we're hoping it's going to move back up and to the right. It could also go down further. Uh, and if
Right.
it does, it's a situation where we still don't have anything to worry about on our side because we're being very protective over the leverage that we're using. We know coming into the end of the year, coming into September, it's very, very risky to over leverage yourself because September is generally a month that's very dangerous across the board.
Right.
So that's kind of the mentality that we have is protect the funds first, go for the moonshot after, so to speak. And we're at that point in time where for us, the moonshot isn't supposed to be like one trade where we just degen into it, 1,000x leverage and just go through the roof. We want this to be, a very consistent, methodical, thought out, step-by-step process that, ensures that we're not going to have to worry about anything in the long run. We'd much rather take, 0% on the month and do 70 to 80% on the year than try and just close our eyes and pick winners on
Sure.
on a roulette table kind of thing. So
Right.
that's kind of where we're at. And
Very
just
nice.
to keep in mind, we are, if memory serves, I believe we're at 47.8% on the year, which is beating everything. The stock market's not anywhere close to that, with the exception of a few things that have been approved. So we're absolutely beating the market across the board here.
Would you say
As well.
which is awesome. Would you say that this bot will probably be more profitable once we're out of the bull market, like once all this volatility is gone?
So it's not necessarily an issue of volatility. It's an issue of moving outside of certain given specific ranges. So like our bot, especially the volatility, strategy that we have within our bot is very, very good when the price is moving up and down within a plus or minus of about 5%.
Right.
So what that means is like within any given period of time, it could move like, um, down 3%, up 4%, down 2%, up 1%, down 5%, up 3%, stuff like that. That's great for a volatility bot where it's just moving up and down and pinging back and forth. It's
Right.
awesome.
Right.
The bot strategy that we're in right now is more projected for growth within the market. So things moving up and to the right. We're expecting at the earliest Q1 of 2025 will likely be the market moving up. And the reason for that, and without getting too overly political, Donald Trump has been very supportive of crypto as a whole. If it were to be a situation where Donald Trump does get elected, we may see a lot more favorability within the crypto market, especially within the United States.
Yeah.
With that being said, a lot of times other countries have a tendency to follow, the United States lead within those aspects. This would be one of the first instances where there are a lot of other countries that are way ahead of the United States in this market, and the United States is lagging behind, and it's very disappointing to see. But there are some instances with, the election around the corner. There's a lot of nervousness going into it. The markets, not just in the United States, but globally are really having, a hard time at this moment, kind of slowing down. Prices are higher than a lot of people are able to kind of afford. We're seeing a lot more debt within the market, which is a huge issue as well. So just all in all, as a whole, people are spending a lot more on necessities and things than they normally would in the past. We're seeing a lot less people go on vacations as well. It's a
Right.
huge, issue it's not just the United States, it's a global issue as well too. But it's very much so an instance where, um, we could see some positive trends as early as potentially like Q1 of 2025 when Donald Trump, um, you know, if he wins, will, potentially do some things like firing Gary Gensler. That's one of the things that he said he wants to do,
Yeah.
which would be huge for the crypto market as a whole, because
Yeah.
he's nonsensical with him going after, various different things, various different projects and ecosystems,
Right.
blockchains, things like that, on behalf of the SEC, which are pretty much unfounded.
Right.
Um,
Right.
yeah, it's just been a lot going on, and I don't want to get too much further into politics and stuff like that, but I think it's one of those things where it's like we have to keep in mind, like when we have these strategies in place, how we want to adjust in and out of them. And so for us, we had an expectation, that the Ethereum ETF, the Bitcoin ETF, things like that would be positive, but we also were prepared for big sell-offs as well too, um, which is why we transitioned into this much more conservative strategy. Is that, with the market pumping and being as hype as it was with the ETFs, we decided that we wanted to make sure we were safe and secure, and we weren't in a position where we were at risk in the long term, especially as these governments have accumulated a massive amount of cryptocurrency. And turns out we ended up being correct in that assumption. I
Yeah.
wish we weren't, but turns out we were correct, and a lot of you know major countries liquidated
Yeah.
a ton of their assets. And so, big issue there. The other side of it as well, too, is we're still going through the FTX payouts and liquidations as well. So that's a lot of assets coming into the market, facing a lot of, the downside of things. So it's one after the other. And so it was much
Right.
safer for us to be in this one than it would have been for us to be in the volatility one, even if we would have had that, you know, ability to dollar cost average with that volatility um, strategy. So that's
Yeah.
a lot of wordage going on, but basically this one's much more conservative. It's much safer, but it also allows us to continue to garner returns as the market starts to recover and go up and to the right. And as we move into all-time highs. And that's what we wanted to do, is we wanted to protect on the downside, but still be able to take advantage of the upside. So
Yeah. Well, and you guys have done it. I mean, your first payout was amazing, and it's
mhm.
only going to get better from there. So,
Yeah,
definitely
absolutely.
protect the
Um,
principal is priority.
yeah, absolutely. And I don't know if anybody's got any questions for us, but I do have to run relatively quickly today. Um, got a dinner with the wife, and I didn't know if anyone had any questions really quick before we jump into it. The numbers will be released, most likely tomorrow. I know me and Callie have been just kind of working on a couple of different things. Again, I apologize about that. I know it's usually Tuesdays, but we've just been a little bit busy here. Um, but yeah, for the most part, very much so a situation where we're happy with the way that the first payout went. I will say next month's payout is going is going to be lower, because this one was an accumulation of, I think, about 3 months. Because I believe we launched back in June. I'm not 100% positive there, or we pulled the funds in like June or something.
I
So
don't remember.
no. As of right now, the taxes have not been pulled and used at this time. Me and Callie are working on doing that as we adjust for the next set of the strategy here. So there will be a liquidation from the treasury/fee wallet, and that will happen and go into the Ray Fund side of things. So yeah, that will happen within this month here. We're working on the best course for how we want to do that. Do we want to do it in smaller little cells? Do we want to do it in one larger one? We just haven't fully decided on that yet, but it will happen this month, and we'll get it, in there and funded. So
It's
yeah.
not that much though, right? It's like 1,200 tokens or something.
For what?
For the tax that he was talking about from the taxes.
So for like the taxes that we've accrued as a whole since launch, no, it's quite a bit more than that. It's about 182,000 tokens.
Oh yeah.
Not all of that is going to be liquidated. As a reminder, some of that is, going to like the team/treasury. But a massive chunk of that is just, to say this better, the massive chunk of this is not going to be just sold in like one shot is what we're trying to work out here. We don't want this to kind of like be a massive red candle. We have looked at some of the liquidation for this, and I think the idea that we'd have is we don't want to move the chart any more than about like 1% a day or something. So yeah, it wouldn't be like, oh, we're just going to nuke the chart for like 30%. That's not going to happen. So in case anyone's worried about that.
All right. I don't think anybody was, but
sorry if I put that fear in your head.
So yeah. Now I'm thinking
that won't be the case. We'll be doing that.
All right. This is a really important question. What are you going to have for dinner?
Well, I mean, I'm going to be in the doghouse if I don't leave here soon, but dinner is going to be Italian food. Yeah, me and the wife are going out for our anniversary. So,
very nice.
Yeah.
Very nice. How long have you guys been married?
Yep. We got married in 2018. So
cool.
6 years. 6 years. 6 years.
6 years.
Yep.
Cool. All right. Well, we'll let you go. We appreciate you always.
So old.
Yeah. Happy anniversary from Wise Choice Money.
And like I said, everybody, this will be a situation where we'll let people know, and we'll post the transaction when we do go to, liquidate the RayFi and pull those funds over into the Ray Fund side of things. So that way, if you guys want to jump out there and grab some RayFi at a discount, you can absolutely do so. We'll post the transaction so you guys can see everything. As of right now, just in case anyone's curious, the treasury/team side of things for tokens that are going to be going there from the fees, we're not planning on liquidating those at all. So that would be a situation where the team would just get RayFi tokens. So just as a heads up, in case anyone's curious, we're not liquidating those. But yes.
Right on, right on. Everybody wishing you happy anniversary. All right, buddy.
About how the chart is going to look and what it's going to show up as. Just as a heads up, in case anyone's curious, we're doing the math to make sure that we aren't just going to, like I said, see like a 10% down in the chart here or anything crazy like that. So, yep. But thanks for all the well wishes, everybody.
Yep.
Any final questions before we dip? Nope, I think we're good. And I think Callie is in the process of updating the numbers. I see him typing something now. He just popped back on. He's doing stuff. So
cool.
Those numbers may come out tonight. Yep.
Sounds good. Sounds good.
All right. You guys have
thank you guys.
Absolutely fantastic evening.
Yeah, you too. Thanks everyone for being here. See ya.
See you, Oliver. Bye.
See you, Moongod.